Shalom. First and foremost, son of all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Wakahakodash, double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who ruled well and taught me this truth. Peace, blessings, salutations, and mercies to the elect and the one-third remnant out there listening and doing this word with all faith and sincerity. This video is going to be centered around the subject of Palantir and what will be able to be done from this system, because this system is actively being implemented in America, right? But it started off as a testing weapon, so to speak, over there in the land of Israel with the Palestinians, and it's been very successful. Okay, but what this system is going to do is going to be able to, is going to allow Esau, right, the self-proclaimed white man, and these governments to completely strip you of your liberties, right? Whatever liberties you thought you had, they are gone. These different agencies like the NSA and, the FBI and, all these other alphabet organizations, they're going to have direct access into all of your information and your location, because, as this video, Lord will highlight, they're going to have the ability to spy on you at all times, right, using artificial intelligence. Okay, Palantir is an American software company that builds data integration and analysis platforms used by governments, law enforcement, militaries, and large corporations. Now, large corporations being involved is very key, because if you don't know, the central bank, right, the Federal Reserve Bank is a corporation, right? It is not a government entity, but we know that, this society practices corporate and government relations, which is, by definition, fascism, right? So these large multinational conglomerate corporations have a lot of pull and say so in, governments, right? And they're going to be using these systems against you. Its systems help organizations pull together huge amounts of data from many sources to find patterns, track relationships, and support decision making, right? And these are very, very key things, because they're going to do this all using your digital footprint. This is why we say, right, that the cherry on top is going to be that mark of the beast, man. Okay, which is the RFID microchip. All right, because they'll be able to constantly track and trace you at all times, right? If they are able to implant that within you, that technology, right? What Palantir actually does, Palantir builds two major platforms, right? Palantir Gotham, used by intelligence agencies, military organizations, law enforcement. Gotham help analysis combined from many sources, databases, sensors, documents, images, right? So they have constant, if you have a cell phone, you're constantly being monitored. All right, there is a plethora, an endless supply of still images of your face, right? You may have facial recognition on your camera, and even if you don't, they're doing it without your consent anyway. Okay, they're constantly monitoring what you're saying, your phone calls. All of this is public record. Okay, but what are they doing with all that information? Well, they're feeding it into these huge supercomputers, and they're giving it to AI to sort out, right? And to learn you and to be able to identify you, okay? Visualize relationships between people, places, events, detect threats or patterns. So it's going to be able to predict, allegedly, based off of your patterns. And once this technology is implemented into your body, it's going to know your thoughts, right? He's going to have complete access to you, all right, to monitor you. And he's going to be able to predict what you're going to do. And they're going to bring all of this suddenly, man. It's often associated with counterterrorism, fraud investigation, military planning, criminal case analysis. And these are all selling points, okay? When society gets bad enough, people are going to accept anything just to get a remnant of what they had lost, right? Similar to what we've seen in COVID. Palantir Foundry, used by companies, healthcare, finance, manufacturing, some government agencies. Foundry help organizations integrate business data, optimize supply chains, manage logistics, make data-driven decisions. And it's going to be able to harbor all data points, because everything nowadays pretty much has some type of radio frequency device embedded in it. Even, football players and basketball jerseys, they have this same technology. Okay, so this technology has been perfected, all right? They know the limits of it, and they know how to utilize it, right? And they're actively using it over there in Palestine. And guess what? It's been very successful. Okay. Palantir artificial intelligence platform, a newer product that connects AI tools to sensitive or classified data in a controlled way, helping organizations use AI safely while keeping control over what AI can see or do, right? Like they create these programs, man, and these programs are, far more advanced than you could ever even think. Okay, they've had years to prepare this system, all right? And ultimately, this is all just Esau attempting to play the Most High, all right? He's attempting to play the Most High, and guess what? The Lord's allowing him, and he's going to deceive a very, very great number of people into believing and following after him, man. A lot of people are going to get microchipped, okay? So this makes it extremely effective for intelligence agencies, defense and enterprise operations. Why people sometimes worry about Palantir, because it is used in surveillance, predictive policing, immigration enforcement, and that's what they're using to identify these illegals, all right, and to kick their doors in and to ride on them like they do. You wondering how they even know where they at? Well, because they're actively using this Palantir system, okay, and they're able to, they don't need identification. They put your face up to a camera, and with 100% certainty, they can identify you and pull up all of your information already. All right. Military operations, there are ongoing debates about privacy, civil liberties, government overreach, accountability, ethical use of big data. But guess what? They don't give a fuck about your privacy. You never had civil liberties like you think. You have your freedoms, right? But they're limited. But this technology is gonna definitely definitely put a lot of that to the test, man. Okay? The only way you're going to be able to regain your so-called freedom is through this merging with artificial intelligence, man. Okay, and they're gonna paint it as if you shouldn't have nothing to hide if to merge into this way of living, right? Constant surveillance. Who uses Palantir? Public and private sector organizations like the U.S. Defense Department or U.S. Department of Defense, which is now the Department of War, U.S. intelligence agencies, law enforcement agencies, NATO allies, large corporations in energy, automotive, manufacturing, and healthcare, because they're gonna tag all of this with your health and a CBDC, a digital currency, right? So this system is strictly out to survey you, right? Esau is simply playing God, all right? And he has a lot of, don't get it twisted, man. Esau is on the level, right? Because the Lord has given him certain abilities, right? This is Ezekiel 28:2. Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, right, which is, today Esau, who's, sitting in the seat of Tyrus, right? Thus saith Yahweh Shema Shah, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God, I sit in the seat of the Most High, and I in the midst of the seas, in the midst of the people, right? Yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God, because in Esau's mind, in his simple as spirit, he believes that he is the Most High because he's been deceived. Okay, he's been given a great amount of power and influence to the point where it's all went to his head, man. Okay, all in which the Lord has given him. Of course, he doesn't acknowledge or recognize the Lord. He believes that he got it all himself. Okay, but guess what? The Lord's going to show him, like the Lord shows, everybody else who believed that. You look at Nebuchadnezzar, he thought himself to be a god, but then the Lord turned him into a beast, right? Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from me, because he's very diligent to be able to come up with a system like this. I mean, just the idea of robotics and artificial intelligence, very, innovative, right? Very creative. And guess what? He's definitely going to use it in a warlike way, because his blessing is what? The sword. All right. Everything he brings out, everything he, produces is in some way, shape, or form weaponized, man. Okay. And this is no different. But this is the ultimate weapon, because, it allows him to, sit in the seat of the Most High, right? To a certain degree, okay? Because he's going to have the ability to see everything, man, okay? With thy wisdom and with thine understanding, thou hast gotten the riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasuries, right? Because this man, through this hidden wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right, given to him by Yahweh Shema Shah, but only to a certain degree, right? He's been able to build this kingdom up in the way that he has, okay? And he is the most, at this current time, he's the most powerful man on earth. That's why Yahweh Shai himself is going to come. And the Lord said he's not going to meet him as a man. He's going to meet him as a God, truly, because Esau thinketh himself to be one. Well, the Lord's going to show you, right? The Lord is going to show you, okay? By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches. And is not Babylon known to be a merchant city? Okay, this man, That's what globalization is all about, right? The ability to have a more smooth trading system, right? Have everything, he goes to China. He pays people in China, open up a sweatshop to make it there, put a brand on it in France, and then sell it in America for thousands of dollars, making, a killer of a profit, right? And that's a big key to how he got all that he has, all right? But guess what? That's made him proud, right? And thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. So he thinketh, because he got all this money to the point where money means nothing to him. All he does is hoard it, all right? He owns all the banks, okay? And you got guys like Elon Musk saying in a few years, money will be a thing of the past. It'll be useless, right? Because now it's all about power and control, okay? He's moved past the idea of being rich. He's rich beyond, the thought of rich, numbers, wealth that's been accumulated that you can't even fathom, all right? This is Psalm 64 and 5. They encourage themselves in the evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? That's the purpose of having all these pieces of technology, all these devices. You got an Apple Watch, you got the Apple glasses, right? The glasses with the camera, they got the Bluetooth, and then you got the cell phone, and then you got the car, and then you got the, the speaker with the, the headphones that also got the ability to track and track. They all have the same technology, the Internet of Things, even your TV, all right? If you're on YouTube on your phone and you open up a TV with YouTube, instantly it's going to say, do you want to sign into the TV? Now, how does it know, right? Because of the signals that these devices communicate to each other with. That same technology, he wants to put inside of you. All right. So you'll be unknowingly communicating with these radio towers and these different devices around you. All right. Complete control, man. All right. But he got people hooked on this technology to where they don't even, not only do they not realize it, but they don't even care, man. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, and they search out iniquities. Literally. Predictive policing? What the fuck is that? Right? What is that? What does that entail of? Okay? He's gonna know. Your blood pressure rising, you got angry at court, you have a gun, there's a 20 or a 65% chance you're gonna do something with the gun. All of these are now data points, okay? To where he's able to predict what you're going to watch on your phone and what you're going to agree with, what you're going to align with, what you might buy, right? That's the purpose of advertisements, right? He's monitoring all these things, man, okay? That's why you wonder, damn, how is it that I was just thinking about boots and this nigga now I'm looking at boots all over my, my phone and shit, all on my social media, boot ads, right? Because he's constantly surveilling you with artificial intelligence. Okay, which is a big part of this man's system that he's bringing in, man. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. It takes a very deep heart to do this. A level of understanding on things that, isn't commonly known. All right. And he's introducing all of this to the world, right? And he's not, you won't have the ability to reject. If you do reject it, you pretty much sentencing yourself to death, okay? Because he's not going to allow you, all right, to reject it. This is Revelations 13 and 15. And he had power to give unto the image of the beast. And a big part of that image is this technology, man. Okay, he wants to live in a technocratic society, okay, where robots are policing, you got drones everywhere monitoring you, hooked up to a system that's hooked up to a robot supercomputer, Now you're able to be monitored, tracked, and traced, okay, with programmable currency being used, okay, that's attached to your, biometric reader implanted in your body. All right. Just absolute insanity. But guess what? This is what he wants, and this is what the world is prepared, right? It's being prepared actively right now to receive. Okay. That the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And if you're not with it, you're going to have to get put down. Get down and lay down, right? So either you're going to be with it or you're going to get laid down, man. There's scripture says it's going to be a great insurrection on those that fear the Lord. If you ain't, part of this system, then you're an enemy of it. All right. And this is what we're coming into. That's why these different things and these different systems like Palantir and, CBDCs are being talked about, digital IDs, right? All of these things are interconnected. All right. So be prepared, man. With that, to give all praise and the glory to Yahweh, Shema, Shabbat, Shem, Rakakadash, Wa, Abba, Babal, and DTA.